It's 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to replace this strut slash shock on a 1988 Cadillac Eldorado. So there's your removal procedure right there. To raise the vehicle and remove the wheels, make sure the vehicle is properly supported with jack stands. Remove airline filter, airline fitting from strut. That's just this one right here. So you pop the clip, give it a quarter turn, and pull it off. Disconnect the ELC, electronic leveling control, height sensor link. It's on the left side. I'll point that out to you real quick in a minute. Reinstall 2 wheel nuts to hold the rotor in place. You don't have to. You can just take the rotor and set it on the side. Probably better. Loosen the knuckle pivot bolt, but do not remove. Most likely it's like this bolt, or no, it's this bolt right here, but it pivots even if you leave it there. There might be a reason that they want you to remove that, like it might damage the rubbers or something, but I left it on the other side, so I'm not going to take it off unless I have to, or loosen it unless I have to. Remove the upper strut rod nut and mounting parts. That's this nut up here on this one. On some vehicles it's in the trunk inside, or in other vehicles I've seen it behind the back seat up high there, on kind of on the back dash. This one's here, so it's pretty easy, except the whole thing spins when you turn it. I grabbed the top with a vice grips for a while and then turned it until I couldn't hold it anymore, and then I stick a screwdriver in here to put some pressure on it and then take it off. It seems to work. Compress the strut and rotate downward, so when you take it out you push it down and then rotate it, and when you do that, that's when you'll break the leveler if you're not careful. Remove the pinch bolt and remove strut from vehicle. The pinch bolt is down in here. It's down in here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's why you have to. It's right here. And when you rotate it out, it'll be up on top. It's easier to get to. So I'll show that all to you as we go along. This is the leveler on the left side, so you'd probably move these clips and then take it off. I was able to do it without taking it off, but I wouldn't recommend it because this is pretty fragile, and if you're not careful you will break it. You will need to support this with the floor jack before you rotate the other thing out so you don't bust it. Here's the new shocks I'm using. They seem to be identical almost to the old one, so they say to use these for the original ride, the OE Spectrum. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and use a 15/16 and take this off up here. I'll set the phone down for a minute. I doubt you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So you can just create a little pressure here. Do it with a screwdriver or however you can. And that's so that the bolt doesn't turn. You use a screwdriver like this. Also will work very well. I don't know why that bolt spins. It's almost there. So this is where you can support the bottom with a floor jack, just to be safe. You don't want to put any pressure on it because you have to clear this, so you might have to go down a little bit anyway. I'll finish this up real quick. I don't want this job to take more than 15 minutes, so I have to hurry. And that's only because the YouTube videos are easier to download if they're short. If you take the wrench down a little bit, you can go a little further and you can get an extra notch out of it when you turn it. We're getting close now. I think we're almost off. There, now it comes off the hand, so finish it up. So the top has 3 pieces: the nut, this flat spacer, and the rubber. The big end goes up and the smaller side goes down, and they want you to reuse that, which is ridiculous. They should be supplying new parts. So this is where you're supposed to collapse the shock, and you can see how it collapses until they go back up, and that means it's broken. Okay, so this, I already removed the caliper, and some people, I've seen some people just take this top piece off where it slides. I took the whole caliper off. It includes the emergency brake and that, and I just set it off to the side a little bit, you know, like that. You should tie it up, of course, but I'm too lazy. I try to do as little as possible. So this is where you rotate it out like that, and you can see, and you can pull it straight out. And now I'm going to get to this little squeeze nut. So and I think it's actually a metric squeeze nut. It's smaller than that. So this one is a 16. So it's probably the 15. Trying to find a 15. There's a 14. 9 16s. 11 16s. 16. I want to see how many times I can. This is a 16 again. See how many times I can try the same socket. This is a 15. It's probably, let's see, where is this thing? Here it is, the old 15. Yep, that's the right size. So dirty, so I like to wipe the threads off and put a little grease on them for next time. Keep them nice. And on these as well, for the these are the caliper bolts. Put a little grease on those. Alright, so that's what that squeeze nut is. It's a, what they call it, a squeeze nut, because it's in a kind of a cylinder, and there's a slit in the back, and the bolt goes through it and squeezes it shut to hold the strut in place. So if you stick a screwdriver in there, you can open it up a little bit, and it makes it easier for the strut to come out. So you just stick a screwdriver in there, tap on it. Be careful you don't bust that air hose. Ah, that's it there, Ron. And see, it comes right out if you do it that way, which is the right way. So we'll open up the new strut. These Monroe shocks are they're very stingy. They give you a shock, boom, and one nut for the top, and that's it. No rubber parts. None of those. None of those old rubbers. It's stupid. They give you instructions as well. So here it is. And for all the amigos out there, there's the Spanish version. The Spanish version. Is that the Spanish? It's either, no, that's the French version. They have it in French. Position. There's your installation in English, how to install it. You can pause the film and look at it. I'm a little disappointed now. You'd think it would be in Spanish. Oh well. Have to learn English then. Alright. So, clean the area down in here. Nice and clean. That's good. I put a coating of grease down around there to keep it from rusting, but it's sort of counterproductive because you don't really want this thing slipping around. But it's in a it has a key in the back. See this key? And you have to make sure that that's seated properly, and then you put the bolt back on. So you just slip this back in, make sure that that is seated, so you can feel it pop down in there. Take the screwdriver out. Put the squeeze bolt back in. That's where the grease comes in on the nut, on the bolt. helps it go back in really nice and clean. I can almost put it in by hand up to a certain point now. Make it as tight as you can get it, practically, without busting anything. This is your only chance to tighten it right now. Because later when you swivel that back up, you can't get to it. That's where an impact wrench comes in handy. Gets it nice and tight. So this is where you need to go down lower. Let it go down quite a bit. Look at that. Support that. Alright, so this is the old shock here. And so you need these parts off of here. And boy, I sure would love to have a new rubber piece. And so when you put this up in here, when you turn it at a certain point, that's where it goes up. I don't know, it must have a certain shape or something, so you may want to make sure that so you gotta collapse this a bit. There, oh, whatever. And then you can use a floor jack to lift it up into place. And like I said, you want that, make sure that this is where you can give the floor jack a little bit of a lift so that it lifts the shock all the way up into place. It'll make it easier, and then you're going to use a new nut. Again, I don't know, some people like to put things on dry. I'd love to put a little bit of grease on everything. So you got to make sure that that's on correctly. The skinnier side down, with the smaller diameter down, so it doesn't rattle around. Put your flat washer on. Of course, this concave side down to hug the rubber. Your new nut. And when you put this on, that thing will turn again. I mean, it's like, can you not make this? Why can't you make this so that the nut inside doesn't turn? They did try and compensate for that, because on the new shock, on the very tip here, it's machined so you can put a 10mm wrench on it to hold it from turning, which is a little better, but it's still kind of cheesy. So you'll need a 10mm to hold that in place. Of course, you'll never find a 10mm. Here's one. So anyway, I only got a few more minutes left here. I gotta hurry. I put my finger on top to feel, yeah, to feel that nut. I can see now it's turning. So, and luckily I can just get to the 10mm threads now. And so you slip that on and hold it in place. See how that wrench is turning? Cheesy design. So the wheel well is holding the wrench now from turning, so which is holding the nut. So you can put your finger on top to make sure that that bolt inside isn't turning. So you're going to want to make this pretty tight by, you know, looking in here and see if you got how much play you have. And you want it to be relatively tight so you don't get any movement in there while you're driving. That would be bad. You only want to do this job once every 30 years. So that now has shifted.